just an idea. That is literally a way that he's telling you how to determine altitude in looking at a map. Maybe for other things than riverbeds. Maybe to look for the blaze. You know, people have said things. Oh man, I'm so glad I remember this. Someone a long time ago, I'm going on 2 years now, almost 2 years, right? I think it'll be 2 years in this summer that I've been doing this. And when I first got into it, one of the memes was, someone was saying there is a mount, if you go on Google Earth or Google Maps, if you look at the map, you can actually see an owl's head in the map, in the mountains. It's like a geographical formation. And of course you have to be, know where to look and look at the right altitude. And apparently then you can distinctly, and that's because if you have been wise, and owls are icons for the wise. So people say the blaze, that must be the blaze, and then it's right next to this owl's head. And I think, and he showed the area, and I mean, like I said, it was before, I don't have it in front of me, and I never could really see the owl's head. I kind of vaguely saw it. Now that's kind of confirmation bias. He's kind of reading a lot into that shape. But something else occurred to me. I've never pursued that as a way to look for the blaze or the treasure. But this is something that is so fundamentally important that people understand. Told you. Oh, damn, my nose is itching. The blaze is not what he reveres. The place where the treasure chest is buried is a place he has reverence for. He once was in a Q&A and some kid said something like, is it a place that you revere? And he said, yeah, you could say revere or admire. I don't have the quote in front of me, but he's kind of saying it has a special significance to me. And he has said in other interviews, it may not have a special significance to you so much, but it has special significance to me. And that's why people get off on all these tangents about it has to do with when he was a kid, it was a special spot when he was a kid, it was a favorite fishing hole, it was something to do with who knows what. Somehow it has to do with finding the grave in Vietnam, and that somehow translates to the U.S. in an area it looks like. All these, I mean, people have a million theories, and they're all, some of them are interesting. But this is what I can't emphasize enough, and I try not to be Mr. Know-It-All, because I'm obviously not Mr. Know-It-All, because I haven't found it either. None of us are. None of us know what's the hell, where it is for sure until we find it. We're all just kind of throwing ideas out there. That's all I'm doing. But on this one, I'm very, very certain. When a guy says, there is a formation in the mountains that looks like an owl's head, and so therefore I think that is... And so therefore, that's the blaze. And so on the map, look under that, and you'll see, who knows, you'll see a campground or something. That's where it is. That would infer the blaze is the reason you're there, right? And I've seen other things where people say, someone recently had a thing where they showed the wall of a cliff, and there was a natural formation, and it kind of looked like an arrow pointing down, and people were saying, yeah, that looks like it could be the blaze, and this, and you understand what you're saying, right? You're understanding that Forrest Fenn had a place that he revered that was very special to him. And it just coincidentally happened to have a natural formation of an arrow pointing down right in the place that he reveres or admires or has special significance, whatever the hell it is. Do you think that's true? I don't. Hearing a kitty. Sometimes they'll be all going, like they just want to say, how's it going, or do you hear me, or whatever. Kind of like little kids, mommy. But anyway, is that what you think is going on? Because that's what you're saying if you say the blaze is like a natural formation that's been solved over millennia. Formation of a cliff, formation of mountains. if you're saying that's the blaze, then you're saying that there's an incredible coincidence that that happened to be at a place he considers that he reveres personally? Are you saying that he reveres it because it's there? Oh my God, I see a cliff with an arrow and that's just so spectacular, I revere it. You understand what I'm trying to say? Very unlikely to me. I don't think the blaze is it would be a real coincidence. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I'm not saying he couldn't have a place that personally means a lot to him that coincidentally has some sort of unusual natural phenomena that's very unique, like a formation on a mountain. I'm just saying it's very unlikely. I think the blaze is something he's it's either something that's not that unusual that you would see it on Google Earth or something, but maybe if you were in an area, you know, everything's relative. To the ant, the puddle's an ocean. You know, remember the relativity arguments, how far off the trail is the thing? Well, it depends. You know, I don't have my calipers with me, but you know, to an ant, a puddle is like an ocean to us. So it's all relatively speaking. I mean, if you go into, say, a fishing spot, we'll just say, and you're in this area and there's really nothing there but just trees and branches on the ground and grass and water, well then I suppose if you saw a, well, I hate it when I do stupid things like this. Well, I also go back to my old fallback. If there is a white rock, or if there is some sort of a cliff with a white splash of quartz on it, maybe, you know, but it would just be something really different relative to all the brown and green, just crap that's in the area. And you'd have to know how to get there anyway, and you'd have to know why you're there, but you understand what I'm trying to say. I don't think the blaze is the reason that it's special to him, and that's what kind of some people seem to lose track of. Let's see what my other dog ears are saying here. I got dog ears for a reason. Oh, before I go, I've got to read you the coolest poem. I got this book on Kindle recently. You know, the whole thing with his job, and he's a dishwasher, and the lady making the pies, and there could literally just be remembrances. I also thought it was interesting that one of the streets, considering the poem, I also thought it was interesting that the street that he makes a point of saying he was on, I think he was on, no, there's nothing here. I just thought it was interesting. It's not a new thought at all that there was a street that he refers to in Thrill the Chase somewhere near Canyon Street. Also, that was just kind of, you know, then I was thinking, what if he means take Canyon Street down and then you're heading towards whatever rivers, there's some river that goes right by, is it the Madison? Is it the Yellowstone? Some river that goes right by West Yellowstone, the town. Now, what if he's saying you go down Canyon and then you go to... Oh! Okay, I want to wrap this up. Before I go, I'm going to read you a really cool poem. That has nothing to do with the hunt, but it's just a really cool poem that I got off. I downloaded a Kindle book, this absolutely fascinating book, written by a true account that a guy had gotten out of an attic years after the fact. It's from the 1800s. Hey, buddy. Tober's back. And it's the account of a young... I almost get from reading it, you get the impression it may have been, she may have been half Indian and half white. But that's all beside the point. It's a fascinating book. I'll put the title up here. I forget what it is. She has in it, there's a story she tells of, she's very connected because she grew up under a horror house. She was adopted and she grew up under a horror house in the basement where this woman cleaned the horror house, and that was who took her in. So she began, and the woman's an Indian, Native American. I think she's Blackfoot. And she talks about this, she's telling a story about a guy who came to announce to the general group that he knows of, just like you would maybe go to your family or something. If you learn you have cancer or something, maybe like Forrest Fenn might have gone to his family. And he gives a poem, or his way of expressing that he's dying. Oh my God, it's the most fascinating thing you've ever heard. I really want to read it, but I'll also put it on here. It's so beautiful. Oh, but before I do that, of course, checking the time. But anyway, I've got something here I want to do for the poem, from the poem, and then I'm going to read that. I'm going to find that poem as a parting word for now. And in a few days, when it gets sunny out and it's warm, and it's not at all like this, of course, because it never gets like this in South Carolina. I'm going to go out and do my treasure chest simulation. It's going to be a very cool simulation. It's not going to be going over what the previous videos that I've done at a show, where I'm just out, basically one time almost lost my own treasure box. But it was amazing in those videos to watch how it fits in. But it's going to be a different simulation, but it's going to be, I think everyone's, excuse me, I think boots on the ground people especially are really going to appreciate it. It's going to be a learning experience. Like I said, I went out and actually did it, and the first day's worth of footage had no audio for probably 4/5 of it. And then the second days, I just didn't like the footage that I got. Okay, I want to bring up one thing, and this is it's kind of vague, but it just strikes me as something to think about. It reminds us of that concept of how small is the area. You go from the big area to the small area. I happen to believe that when you hit Homer Brown, you're in an extremely small area. Once you hit Homer Brown, and I think I could have gone past Homer Brown, and then I put the two things I was kind of plotting in my head together like map points, and suddenly they crisscrossed like X marks a spot at a specific physical place very close to where I was on this last trip. Okay, Eric, I think we got it. I'm just saying, though, it's really cool. The treasure hunt's really cool. But you guys all know that. Okay, Eric, find the dog ear. Oh. Good God, Eric. Here it is. Okay, so I'm back at the poem. This is really interesting to me. Begin it where warm waters halt is the second stanza. Begin it where warm waters halt. And some people think that could be also interpreted as begin it where cold starts, right? We know there's a thing on the Firehole River where he used to bathe, and someone said that when he would they'd been in the river and you could actually, literally you could sit in warm water and put your hand down, and if you hit the current of the river going by, it was like just two levels of temperature. It was like you're in warm, and you put your hand into like cold water, like a cold water faucet. That's really where warm waters halt and cold begins. Begin it where warm waters halt. That stanza, from There's No Place for the Meek, that stanza, If You've Been Wise and Found the Blaze, that stanza, and suddenly, and then so wise it that I must go. This whole time you're following this plot line, right? Plot lines on a map. Begin it where warm waters halt. Only thing before that's that stanza I discussed before, is I've gone alone in there. Begin at warm waters halt, and then all of a sudden, the last stanza, he says, so hear me all and listen good. Your effort will be worth the cold. Have we been in the cold since begin it where warm waters halt? Have we either been in a cold environment like a river? Have we been in a cold environment like cold, like near the top of the mountain? I think he has said it's not on top of a mountain, but hasn't he said it's close to the top of the mountain? Or it may be close to the top of the mountain? Could be wrong about that part, folks. But begin at where warm waters halt, and then you follow it and you keep going, and all of a sudden you're hearing your effort will be worth the cold. As if you when you get to the end of this cold journey, you find it, and it's worth having been in the cold, that journey. Just a thought. As he says, there are other subtle clues sprinkled in the stories. It was vital that nobody share my knowledge about the location of the treasure. Two people can keep a secret if one of them is dead. It's a very old saying. That's an ancient saying. Okay, so I'm going to go find this poem to sign off on. I think I've said enough for now. Looking at the time. Oh, Tober's down on my foot. Oh, I guess I should.